What would happen if a former network anchor, known for delivering breaking news, walked into a federal courthouse to face charges? The city of St. Paul buzzed with cameras and curious onlookers as Don Lemon stepped out of the car. He flashed a familiar smile, waved at the press, but kept his thoughts tightly sealed. Why would a journalist, who covered the Grammy Awards, now be accused of something far more serious? Federal agents had seized him in Los Angeles just days before he was set to report on the Grammys. The charges? One count of conspiracy against religious freedom and another of intimidation at a place of worship. It all began with an anti-ICE protest that unfolded inside a church in Minnesota. Don claimed he was there only as a journalist, covering the event for CNN. But prosecutors argue he acted as a collaborator, not merely an observer. They say his presence turned the peaceful gathering into something more chaotic. Several protesters were also arrested during the incident. The courtroom doors opened to reveal a man who had once anchored nightly news. He was released on his own recognizance, an unusual leniency for such allegations. Moreover, he received permission to travel to France with friends over the summer. This allowance came with a strict condition: no conflict with his pending trial. The tension in the courthouse was palpable. Every eye fixed on him. Dat's lawyer tried to paint the picture of a dedicated reporter chasing truth. Yet the prosecutors painted a different story, hinting at deeper motives. What exactly did Don do that could be construed as conspiratorial? He allegedly entered the worship service during the protest, a place meant for sanctuary. Did his presence incite or simply observe? The line between journalism and interference is thin and often contested. The court had to decide if his actions crossed that fragile boundary. As the judge prepared to hear the arguments, the audience held its breath. Dan's reputation as a hard-hitting anchor seemed at stake in this very courtroom. The prosecution's case rested on the premise that he was not a neutral witness. They suggested he might have encouraged the protesters' actions within the sacred space. In contrast, his defense argued the charges were politically motivated. A journalist's duty is to report, not to interfere. Yet some claim Don did both. The courtroom's atmosphere grew heavier with each passing minute. Witnesses were called, testimonies recorded, and legal jargon filled the air. Bled stepped calmly, listening as evidence unfolded before him. His eyes occasionally flickered toward the judge, a subtle reminder of his own fate. The prosecutor's voice rose to emphasize the seriousness of the alleged conspiracy. They highlighted how religious freedom is protected under federal law. Any threat or intimidation could lead to significant penalties. Don's lawyer countered that no law was broken, only curiosity was pursued. He pointed out the lack of clear evidence linking Don directly to any violent acts. The judge nodded, absorbing every argument with careful deliberation. As the arguments concluded, a hush fell over the room. The tension thickened. Everyone awaited the judge's ruling like a held breath. Finally, the judge spoke, his voice echoing through the courthouse. He acknowledged the complexity of distinguishing journalism from interference. He also noted that federal law treats any intimidation within religious spaces as serious. His verdict was not an outright acquittal or conviction. Instead, he set conditions. Don must remain available for questioning and cannot travel outside the country without permission. The courtroom erupted in a mix of relief and uncertainty. Don's future, both legal and professional, hung in the balance. He had faced charges that could tarnish his legacy as a trusted news voice. But his release on recognizance offered a glimmer of hope. The case continues, with trial dates looming on the horizon. In the meantime, Don remains under watch, his every move scrutinized by both law and media. So what does this mean for journalism's role in covering protests? Will reporters now fear stepping into sacred spaces to capture truth? Lendley, time will tell if the line between reporting and interfering is clearly defined. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more updates.